So just to frame this one then, we're offering from the Skillset North by Southwest Media Academy, so Wiltshire College and Cirencester College, some courses around leisure and management skills specifically for the creative industries. And these courses have been developed with alongside working with practitioners, working with people in the industry, and trying very much to respond to needs which have been identified by research by Southwest Green and by Skillset. Do you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, certainly at Cirencester, what we're looking at is a course which is focused very much on practical team leader, team working, management skills. And again, it's very much based around the kind of needs that industry practitioners require. Certainly, talking about the key elements, really, there's a number of different key elements to this course which we see as particularly important. The first thing is tailoring it to the particular needs of practitioners, and that really is an ongoing process, both prior to the course in terms of training needs, and also on the course itself in terms of reacting to the kind of particular requirements and priorities that students are looking for on the course. We've got a track record of doing this with various other colleges and various other networks, such as Swindon Media Group, and had a very successful programme there in last November. Three main areas that we look at are looking at team leading, what team leading is, how it might relate to a creative business. If you're a one-person band, it might not seem relevant this time, but before you know it, you've got half a dozen freelancers. How are you going to manage those people, and how do you know what they're doing? How are you checking their quality? Sort of probably things that might already go through your mind and start to niggle at you a little bit. And that's really what we're about, is relating this to how it might be that you're developing team leading qualities already, or having to start to think about them, but it's going to be down the line that suddenly you realise you're kind of practically employing these people full time, but they're still freelancers and it's still a contractual relationship rather than a kind of employment one. So we look at those kind of things, and how does it work for you? What sort of style have you got? How does it fit with what you do in terms of your business? And I suppose the important things there are rooting it in. If you're working with a lot of creative people, there's always a lot of things we could say about why we haven't done something, but how do we make sure that certain things are signed off right, and that we've got an appropriate quality process in place, and that we've got a good way of dealing with people that makes people feel comfortable if they've got a problem, but also that you can check up on the kind of standard work that people are outputting. So we look at a lot of those things, and look at the people, marketing, and even financial, legal things that pop up when you're dealing with those kind of issues, because you put in a lot of faith and trust. So a lot of really what the course is about is faith and trust. Is easy to say, but when you're building that up, how do you develop it? How do you test it out? Because at the end of the day, somebody says they've done something, you've got to know that they have. And the client rings up next week and says, okay, where is it? And you find out it's not been done. So, those kind of things we look at a lot. And that moves on to the team leading, which is from that to team working. What sort of different ways do you work with other people? And a lot of the time, obviously, we're not managing somebody, but we're working with them together. But again, there's lots of ways in which we've got to understand clearly what it is we've asked the person to do. And we look at some of those things. And we've had some successes already, certainly working with GMG, and looking forward to working with the Swindon Media Group and on this whole issue of how do you make sure that you're playing to your strengths. We've talked a bit about detail. Some people are good at detail, some people are good at other aspects to a broader picture. If you've got all the people in the right kind of places, which is actually not as kind of difficult as it seems, when we look at the various different concepts behind team role, which relate quite well to creative areas, because you find a lot of people might be very good behind that camera looking at a particular aspect that's very specific but crucial, and another person's really good at making that whole day come together in terms of scheduling and all that sort of stuff. So we look at that and see how does that relate to a lot of the management stuff out there, which is actually, it's exciting because there's a lot of stuff that really does actually connect together. And the final bit is really problem solving, which it's a big area all in itself, but how do we make sure when we do develop issues, legal, contractual, client on the phone saying it's here, it's got to be there by Friday, and it's in the contract, and you look it up and you realise it is. How do you deal with those kind of things, and how do you prioritise? Because we're all juggling lots of different things, and it's mission impossible. But we look at some of the different ways in which that maybe can be managed, because I think that's the best you can say about it. You can't solve it because there's too many things to fit into the time that you've got. But how you try and manage that process and manage expectations, because sometimes maybe we don't manage the expectations too well. We sort of say it's possible, we can do it, and as you put the phone down, you realise, oh my God, you've got to perhaps manage those a little bit, and a lot of that is perhaps setting up appropriate, realistic timescales. And it's the old thing about managing the other person's expectations and being as honest as you can. And we look at different ways in which you can deal with when that's perhaps coming a little bit unstuck, because maybe freelancers have overpromised or you've overpromised, and you've got to go back to people and do a bit of that practical business problem solving. So that's really what it's all about, It's very much practical based, but we do look at a lot of the concepts out there of management that can help businesses flourish, really.
So just to say a little bit about the delivery, the way that we're kicking it off at Wiltshire College, we're running a day to give you a chance to just sort of see how those kind of concepts that we've just been through, how you might apply them in your own workplace. There's a chance there to set a kind of an agenda for the subsequent days of the course. But the idea of that first day, getting on with the business, is that it's a chance to sort of just explore what are the issues, what are the techniques that you can start to deploy in dealing with some of those issues as your company starts to grow and develop.
You mean kind of an open day? So
it's a day you come. We've got people. There's a producer going to come along. We've got a trainer who will lead it through the day, and we will be looking. I've got the kind of the program here for the day. What we'll be looking at is working through exactly some of the points that the full course over a series of full days works out.
How we do it is we've got 3 days.
Kind of a showcase of the course.
In a sense, yes.
Yeah. What we do is we have 3 days, and basically you do one theme on each day. So you've got a kind of, how do you deal with the problem-solving issues that we talked about just a moment ago? How do you tackle the issue of leadership, and how do you tackle the issue of team playing? And that's kind of how we've chunked it out. And so you've got a 3-day package which actually forms the whole program.
Okay. Does that encompass project planning as well? There's skills involved in. I suppose that does encompass all the staff that you're using, doesn't it?
Yeah. Speaking for our one, it does in terms of the problem-solving one. Yeah, there's a key element where you have to get involved in that in a very modest way, obviously. So I'm sure some of the big ones, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah.